Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AFL Draft Night 1 recap. It was a long night because there was plenty of bids, 28 selections to be precise, and I'm going to go through them all one by one. I want to stress enough, though, that was 29 picks, in fact, not 28. But what I will do is tonight I'm obviously going through night 1 only. I'm not going to go through night 2 predictions and everything like that. I'm just going to recap night 1. Then tomorrow night after the second day, I'll recap night 2's picks only. Then on the Wednesday, I will do a full club by club recap as a whole. So let's go through night 1 tonight. 29 picks, as I said. It's like 6 bids, which made it bring it an end of first round compensation picks. But for the players itself, a lot of them that I predicted correctly, which I'll kind of do my recap video on the Wednesday. But yeah, we had bolters like Oscar Ryan, who I interviewed earlier, so well done to you, Oscar. Darcy Wilson went a bit later than as expected. Same with James Leake. So there's a lot of expectations. Then Dan Curtin. Were the Hawks certain on Curtin? No, they weren't. They went Nick Watson, and that reshaped the rest of the draft. The Crows did trade. The Saints and Demons did trade. The Suns did trades for their academy players. We're going to go through it all right now. So how I'm going to do this is I've got the trade picks, the swaps that happened, which affect some of the trades that happened. So St Kilda, I'm going to go in order. So St Kilda traded their future third rounder to Melbourne for pick 42, which ended up being part of another deal, which we'll get to in a second. Gold Coast traded pick 30, 51, 54, and 65 to Brisbane to get pick 24. St Kilda then got pick 27 from Gold Coast for 40 and 42 to have more points, which ended up working for their 4 academy guys. Gold Coast then got 46, 60, and 63 and gave Freo 38, again, more points. GWS, now this was a big one. GWS got pick 11 and 15 and a future second for Adelaide to get pick 8 and 17. So GWS pushed back, and that's where the man Dan Curtin got selected, which we'll get to that shortly. Then obviously they had 17 along with that, so they pushed back a couple of spots with their second first-round pick. And then this was a very smart trade from Geelong. Essendon got pick 10 from Geelong, and Geelong got 11 and 31. Now, you're probably wondering, why would you do that? Well, Essendon really wanted Nate Caddy. Geelong were like, okay, well, we're obviously not going to select Caddy. Let's give them pick 10. We slide back 1 pick, get the next pick. They're not going to pick who we want, and we get 31 for free. So that's smart business from Geelong right there. And the next trade, final pick swap trade, they went through smart from the Saints as well. St Kilda gave GWS pick 17. They slid back 1 spot, which helped GWS select James Leake. Obviously, St Kilda weren't interested or as prioritising him. So they slid back 1 spot, got 18, picked who they did, Darcy Wilson, which we'll get to shortly. And for free, got a future second rounder. So smart business for the Saints as well. So I'm wrapped with that. Now let's get to the actual player picks. So at pick 1, which was always expected, the Eagles selected Harley Reid. Well, this wasn't really a surprise. He was always going to the Eagles, and there is Harley Reid in his new West Coast Eagles jumper. Obviously, the Eagles fans will be up and about selecting Harley Reid. A generational player, as they say. They pump up every pick 1, but Harley's copped a lot of praise, more than some other number 1 picks have of recent memory. So Harley Reid will obviously be a gun for the Eagles, and Eagle fans should be up and about with that selection. Pick 2 went to the Roos. They did not bid on Jed Walter at pick 2. They selected Colby McKercher, gun mid from Tasmania. I mean, as I said in my preview draft videos and Phantom drafts and everything, they went McKercher and Dersma, which we'll get to shortly. I feel like the Dersma Watson should have been one of them, and the other should have been Dan Curtin. Colby McKercher, you can't go wrong with him, but I feel like they had a fair few mids already, and they had to prioritise other areas, which they kind of did with their later picks, which we'll get to. So Colby McKercher, gun mid, great selection. Then they bidded on Jed Walter. If they were being smart, they should have done this with pick 2, because obviously pick 2 is worth more points than pick 3. But they didn't for some reason, but they didn't. And Jed Walter, they bidded on. Gold Coast obviously matched the bid, and the Suns pick 3 selected and matched for Jed Walter, who we see on screen right here, who will be a gun key forward for the Gold Coast Suns. Scary thoughts. You got Ben King and Jed Walter in that forward line for the Suns in 2024, and it's going to be a great side for Suns fans. Could they make their first ever time in the finals? I think they can. Pick 4 was North Melbourne's next pick after the bid was matched for Jed Walter, and it's Zane Dursman, the brother of Zave. He good pick. So there's the 2 Roos boys, the top picks at least. Zane on the left, Colby on the right. 2 great picks for them. I mean, you couldn't go wrong, but like I said, could have got one of Dursman and Watson, and then the other could have been and should have been Dan Curtin. But they've done what they've done. Purely off of they don't need more mids compared to other positions. That's the only reason why. You can't go wrong with McKercher. I think he's probably one of the best. He is the best midfielder in this year's draft, but you couldn't go past him, I suppose, for North Melbourne. Pick 5, Hawks selected the man they deemed the wizard, Nick Watson, who we see on screen here. Obviously, as I said, it was down to Curtin and Watson. Were they certain on Curtin? Obviously, they were not. And they went Nick Watson. I mean, a small forward who can play alongside Luke Bruce. They just brought in Jack Ginnivan in the trade period. Great pickup for them. This was a real line ball for not only them, but for me to predict which way they would go. And I selected, as my latest Phantom draft that I released 4 hours before the event tonight, the news was I was having the feeling that Watson was the guy they went with, and they did. But yeah, great selection for the Hawks. They could have gone Dan Curtin as well, but we'll accept the Nick Watson. Now, the next pick, which was pick 6, the Western Bulldogs selected Riley Sanders. I mean, you couldn't go wrong there. Do they need mids? But they don't need key position players. They've picked up about 1 million of them already. I mean, I've said, and they've got numbers in their defence, like Jed Bussing, a top 10 draft pick from last year, but then Liam Jones and Alex Keith, Ryan Gunner, fringe types, so I don't rate at all. I feel like Connor O'Sullivan or Dan Curtin. And in fact, no, Dan Curtin should have been the one they picked up, but they didn't. And then the other option was Connor O'Sullivan. So they feel like their key defenders are well stocked. They may have quantity, but they don't have quality. Jed Bussinger will be a good one. The other ones, the experienced guys, Jones and Keith and Gardner, not so much. But Riley Sanders will be a gun mid for them. Was, again, with McKercher and Reid, the next best mid option. So good selection regardless, though, for the Bulldogs. At pick 7, the Demons selected winger and speedster Caleb Windsor. Again, you can't really go wrong there. He could have gone a bit further back. He bolted late in the last 2 weeks in terms of talk in the top 10. A good wingman. Melbourne, do they really need midfielders? They need more key position guys, which is, again, you raise the question, should they have gone for Dan Curtin as well? But they didn't, and Connor O'Sullivan was there as well. I mean, their key forwards is a big issue. Dan Curtin can play there as well. I know he's obviously mainly a key defender, but he can play up forward as well if need be. Interesting selection, though, for them. Now let's move on to the next player, which is the man who's certain on Curtin, where GW was traded pick 8, and it was Dan Curtin for the Crows. Steal, absolute steal for the Crows. They did the trade that I mentioned earlier. They got 8 and 17. So basically all they really did was they traded a future second to be certain on Curtin. The Crows were certain on Curtin, unlike the Hawks, and they Steele, if he can stay there in his career, this would be a great pickup for the Crows. A very, very good pickup. At pick number 9, the bid from the Bombers on Suns Academy ruckman Ethan Reid. The Suns matched, obviously, and joined the Suns. We've known this for the whole year or 2 even, that he was always going to be matched and bidded on and secured by the Suns. So the Bombers at pick 10, they've gone Nate Caddy. Good move. Not a real surprise. The 2 players I thought they probably were going through were Nate Caddy and Connor O'Sullivan, a key defender, or go 193 centimetre forward. Bombers need help in both areas. So they've addressed one in their forward line with Nate Caddy. I compare him to it like a Jake Stringer type, but obviously a bit taller than Jake Stringer. And I think he could be a good pickup for them. And obviously he was wrapped when he got picked up by the Bombers. Then that leaves Geelong. This is when the Geelong did the pick swap with Essendon, and they went down one. They picked Connor O'Sullivan. He was the next best available player. And coincidentally, Geelong do need some more key defenders to help Tom Stewart and Sam de Koning. So, good move. Really good move for them at pick 11. Connor O'Sullivan. He'll be he's the best key defender in this draft. So, with Dan Curtin. So, good selection there. Now, this is probably where the surprise started in this year's draft, this round night one draft for the round one. And it was Phoenix Gothard, a small forward that can play through the midfield. He's from New South Wales. So I actually, in my latest Phantom draft, I had Phoenix Gothard and James Leake both going to the Giants. Both went at the opposite picks. So I technically still got it right in terms of the club they would land at. And you could say a surprise, but then when they got Leake later on, it kind of evens itself out. So they did very well there, and obviously wanted to be certain on Phoenix Gothard, and a decent selection for them. Pick 13, the cult figure of this year's draft, Holton Tholstrup. Colt, so I had on the podcast earlier in the year, Ripper guy, and good to see him get picked up by the Demons. We talk about positional types, that forward player that can play midfield as well, but they're medium-sized forward. And that's an area that Melbourne need to address because Bailey Fritsch cannot do it all on his own. They bought Jack Billings and Shane McAdam in the trade period, and Colton Tholstrup can add to that mix. And I think he'll be a great addition to the Demons. He could play from round one purely for the fact that that area for Melbourne on the ground is their biggest and probably only weakness. So he could fit straight into the team along with potentially Jack Billings and Shane McAdam with Bailey Fritsch. Potentially, maybe that may be a bit too much, but we'll have to wait and see who's performing well when the season comes around for them. So a great pickup for the Demons. Now, at pick 14 was Jake Rogers was bidden on by the Swans. It was matched. So with the Suns selected academy player Jake Rogers at 14. Small forward that can play through the midfield. Again, that was obvious. Pick 15, the Swans bidded on Jordan Croft, the Bulldogs' father-son key forward. They matched, so Bulldogs selected Jordan Croft at pick 15. Another key position player, but a good one, so they can't really pass up on that opportunity. Then Sydney actually picked for themselves this time and picked young ruck from Victoria, Will Green, 204, 202 centimetres, around that mark. Probably the second best ruckman, some would say, in this year's draft. I'd say Mitchell Edwards, who still hasn't been picked up yet. And the other three rucks have, which we'll get to the third one shortly. And good pickup for the Swans. Obviously lost Tom Hickey to retirement. Probably need some other ruck options, so a decent option here. Maybe a tad early for a ruckman, considering there was a couple more after this. But yeah, still a good pickup. Pick 17, the Giants picked James Leake, medium-sized defender. As I said, with Gothard, and going to swap them both around from where they were predicted to go. They still got both the guys they wanted. And, small forward and a medium-sized defender is probably what the Giants need. And I like the selection there. Now, at pick 18, my Saints picked Darcy Wilson. The two guys they were linked to heavily at the start of their first pick and second pick were two, Darcy Wilson and Harry Di Mattia. And obviously, Harry's gone to the Pies, which we'll get to shortly. But again, Darcy, I'm just going to see on screen here, a speedy wingman, can run through the midfield and push through the forward line as well. Something St Kilda has lacked for a while is speedy plays. Obviously, bringing Brad Hill a couple of years ago, actually more than that. But yeah, that's probably the bit that, the midfield's always been criticised for being too slow with Steely and Crouch and Seb Ross, mainly in particular, than other players around them that pinch hit there. You lost Gresham, the trade to the Bombers as a free agent. And Darcy Wilson kind of replaced Gresham in that mid-forward role, and his speed is a key weapon of his. So I love this selection for Darcy Wilson, who was also predicted around pick 10, around that Caleb Windsor mark as well, with Melbourne's first and second picks. So a steal to a degree to get Darcy Wilson, probably the quickest player in this year's draft. So I'm happy, really happy with that selection. Now, the next selection was at pick 19, was the Roos bidding on Will McCabe, Hawthorn's father-son from South Australia, key defender. People are saying it's because Clarko did it on purpose. I don't know if that's the case. North need key defenders. It was always going to be matched. And why not make them pay up early? That's just smart to do that. They're going to match. So if they had any hesitancy of thinking that Hawthorn weren't going to match, then they probably wouldn't have done it. But then again, they need a key defender. So in this case, they probably genuinely wanted him. So the Hawks matched at pick 19 for Will McKay, but decent key defender. At pick 20, this was probably a little bit of a surprise in terms of how early he went. Taylor Goad from North Melbourne, a key ruck from South Australia, a pick before Adelaide. They'd be pissed off. So apparently rumoured to pick him next. They need ruck depth. Lost Goldie. They've only got Tristan Cherry and Callum Coleman-Jones, really. So, I mean, they need some support there. They've got Hamish Free, experienced, mature age ruckman, but he's only a depth option. They delisted Jacob Edwards, so they needed someone, and they've gone with Taylor Goad, and they hope that he can have a long career at the Roos, a project player, obviously. At pick 21, the Crows went Charlie Edwards from the Sandringham Dragons, a tall mid of 191 centimetres. Bit of a surprise that he went here. I felt like the Crows were going to go local and not Charlie Edwards, so I'm a bit surprised he got picked up by the Crows, but very good mid. I thought they would go for more key position depth. I know they got Curtin, but I thought they needed a couple more. And maybe go Riley Hardiman or someone like that, or Will Graham bid, something like that. But they went Charlie Edwards, and you can't really go wrong there. Pick 22, North Melbourne went Will Dawson, a key position player, key defender from Victoria. Again, they needed to address that, and I mentioned earlier they needed to at the start, and they didn't, but they've done it here. So, I mean, you get Dersma and McKercher, and then Taylor Goad as a ruckman, and now Will Dawson. And then they've addressed it with their next pick 23, in Riley Hardiman. I like this pick from WA, medium-sized defender. They've got a decent left foot kick on him at pick 23. Good pick there. So they've addressed, a midfielder, pure mid in Colby McKercher, Zane Dersma, a medium-sized forward. Taylor Goad, a developing ruckman. Will Dawson, a key defender. And Riley Hardiman, a medium half-back. So they've needed to address their backline bad, and you got Dawson and Hardiman there. And then they're forward line with Dersma, so I like those moves, along with McKercher, of course, and go to developing ruck. Pick 24, Collingwood bidded on Caden Cleary as Swans Academy half-back wingman. Swans obviously matched at pick 24, great pickup for the Swans. Caden Cleary played for the Allies, and he played in the Swans VFL side at times this year and did bloody well in that as well. At pick 25, the Pies went the cult figure Harry Di Mattia at pick 25, who was heavily linked to the Saints. A midfielder that could play up forward, got the long hair. For people that didn't know, fun fact, he actually substitute fielded for Australia in the cricket probably 4 years ago or so. Actually, no, that's probably too long ago. Yeah, well, actually, might have been 3 years ago. Sub-fielder for Australia to a catch up against England. I think it was at the MCG, I don't know, or SCG, one of those two. And he took a catch. I think it might have been Joe Root, actually. Regardless, got a catch as a substitute fielder, and now he's an AFL player at the Pies. It's a good pickup for them, Harry Di Mattia. Obviously, pronunciations will be key here. Harry Di Mattia. Not something else, it's Di Mattia. Right, the next pick we have here was at pick 26 was Will Graham, the defender for the Gold Coast Suns Academy. Adelaide bidded on him, they matched, and at pick 26, Gold Coast get their fourth Academy player, Will Graham. Now, the bolter of this first night, round 1 draft, at pick 27, the Crows selected Oscar Ryan from the Murray Bush Rangers. Oscar had on the start of the year. If I'm being honest, it didn't look like he was going to be a certainty to be drafted, and then to be not only be drafted, which is awesome for him and I'm happy for him, but then pick 27. So out of nowhere, all these draft experts didn't even mention him once in the last month, of significance at least, about being picked up, and seeing him being picked up is great for him. And obviously, as you've seen, if you watch it on Fox, Matty Nix was there. He was in the room supporting Connor O'Sullivan, his Murray Bush Rangers teammate, part of the 20 invitations. And he was shocked he didn't have the shirt, nothing. He just had a dress top on, and then he had to change in that. Then he had a normal T-shirt underneath, and then he had to trade on to his put on a Murray Bush Rangers top or Coates League top, and then eventually get the Guernsey presented by the Crows as well. So that was pretty cool for me, I'm sure. So well done to Oscar Ryan, a player that can play as a medium defender. Now, the next pick, there was a couple more picks on the night. 2 more, in fact. And I love this pick very much. At pick 28, the Saints selected Lance Collard from WA, a small forward, kicks bags of goals for fun. He kicked 3 goals on multiple occasions in the Coates League. Not in the Coates League, in the WA Under-18s Colts League. Down to everything. Kicked, I think, 3 bags of 5 throughout that league as well. I mean, I know it's a level below, but then again, you got to start somewhere, and he's done very well. And another guy that was linked around the pick 15 range, and to get at 28, I'm absolutely pumped to get Lance Collard on board. Plays a small forward alongside Jack Higgins and Dan Butler. Be interesting dynamic, obviously, with Filippo and Owens up forward, with obviously Max King and Timmy Membry. So I love this pickup, and he might not have to play straight away, but if he is going to be required, he's shown he can kick a goal and loves the goal celebration. So he can join Higo in loving goal celebrations. And the final pick of night 1 for the Blues, their first pick of the draft, was Ashton Moyer, a medium-sized forward from South Australia. I like this pickup for them. Obviously, during the day, Mika Gresta was on AFL draft countdown and had a few names they were tossing between. Well, they didn't admit it, but it sounded like that's exactly what they were doing. And Ashton Moyer was one of the two. And I felt that's the way they were going to go. And they did. It'll be a good pickup for them. Had some injuries this year, but I think it'll be a really good pickup for them. And just a few picks to mention that start off tomorrow. Pick 30, which will start tomorrow, is the Eagles. Now, that pick, the first pick on night 2, is always a very sorted after pick. If you notice, because the clubs have all night now and all morning and afternoon tomorrow before the night starts at 7 p.m. again tomorrow night, Victorian time, that pick is always covered. If there's a club that goes, oh, there's a play we want left, we're going to have to give up. West just can just go, okay, we're going to listen to these offers. And if you really want our pick, you're going to have to cough up more than you would want to. Clubs have done this in the past. So it'd be really good and interesting to see what the Eagles do, or if they just select themselves. They could end up getting a future first out of this. That's, or a future second of a bottom clubs. And that just shows how keen they could be. Or they threw multiple picks in the 30s range, a couple of future seconds, something like that. Some clubs will have to get creative if the Eagles are to part with it. They're not just going to give it up for nothing, basically, if they do even get rid of it. Some names that haven't been mentioned yet are Archer Roberts, Ollie Murphy, Archer Roberts, Archer Reid. There's some names that get mentioned, Lockie Charlson, Michael Rudd. There's plenty of names that haven't been mentioned. Mitchell Edwards, a young ruck from WA, 206 centimetre. See, the Saints would be interested in him tomorrow. They got the 4th pick of tomorrow, 33. You got West Coast at 30, Brisbane 31, Geelong 32, and the Saints 33, followed by Carlton 34, Richmond 35, and Geelong 36, etc. Thank you for watching this video. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it. Night 2 recap tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday, there will be a full recap of the entire draft, club by club, and my ratings for each club. Thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts down below. And go Saints. Last year, they done the steal of the draft for Filippo. Can they do it again? Or have they already done it? Go Saints.